What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka All Fires. Now, earlier in the week, you may have seen the headlines or the report here at the channel where, according to the editorial The Wrap, who had spoken to industry insiders at Sony, Sony was going to officially end their Spider-Man-less Spider-Verse spin-offs, with Kraven being the metaphorical nail in the coffin. Well, not so fast, because Variety posted an enormous article today, and not only did it contradict the report that they were looking to end their Spider-Man-less Spider-Verse, but went on to add details about things that channels like mine have been speculating at for years, including that Sony could have used Peter Parker, and this entire time, they just chose not to. And while we'll examine that choice during this video, because I think it may be one of the only smart decisions that Sony ever made, there was one bombshell revelation at the end of the article that suggested Sony could even hire a different live-action Spider-Man actor other than Tom Holland, and there is a way forward with that, but with the remaking of the Marvel Universe, and rumor not so long ago that Marvel and Sony may team up to bring all of these characters together, we have to look at what this report said. We're breaking it all down, going through it detail for detail, adding context where we can, and of course talking about the real possibility that Sony could hire a different live-action actor to play Spider-Man in their Sonyverse. But first, if you could hit the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel, and that's all we do. Thank you to everybody who subscribed in the last couple of months. We are gaining subscribers at a breakneck pace. I would just kindly invite you to do so if you haven't already and you've been rocking with the channel for a while, or you want to support me as a content creator, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. You might as well anyway, because it enters you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway, which at this point is just a couple of weeks away. Okay, so this article just broke over at Variety under the headline, "Even after Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web, Sony's Marvel movies aren't dead exclusive." This article is extremely long, so we're going to jump to the most important parts and pick up in the middle of the second page, where they go on to say this about the box office failure of Kraven. Quote, "The looming box office failure almost certainly signifies the end of this endeavor at the studio, which one knowledgeable insider at Sony imputed to an industry-wide quote-unquote irrational exuberance about superheroes that has ultimately led to the overall diminishment of the genre's primacy as the leading force at the box office. What it does not, however, signify is the end of Sony's Marvel Universe." So there they say clear in black and white that they may have diluted it to the point of it not working, but they are not ending their Marvel Universe. They still have the rights to Spider-Man, they're just going to do it in a different way. They go on to say, for one thing, technically speaking, there never was a Sony Marvel Universe, or a Sony Spider-Man Universe, or any other official designation akin to the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the newly relaunched DC Universe. Sony has never approached its comic book adaptations with that level of intentional narrative cohesion, as exemplified by the studio's casual, lowercase, and rhetorically ungainly phrasing for its superhero films, Sony's universe of Marvel characters. For another, Sony remains deeply invested in making movies about Spider-Man, the beloved Marvel character who launched the current era of superhero cinema with 2002's Spider-Man. The fourth Spider-Man film starring Tom Holland is expected to start filming in 2025 in partnership with Marvel Studios. The animated Beyond the Spider-Verse is in production and will conclude the Oscar-winning trilogy focusing on Miles Morales, and Sony is producing a live-action Spider-Man noir series starring Nicolas Cage for Amazon Prime Video. Sony insiders also fiercely defend the success of the 3 Venom films starring Tom Hardy, which have earned more than $1.8 billion worldwide. The latest film, Venom: The Last Dance, has earned the lowest gross yet for the franchise, $473 million, especially against the $856 million global take for the initial installment in the franchise. But Last Dance cost $120 million to make, thrifty for a superhero movie, and it improved on the international gross from 2021's Venom: Let There Be Carnage. So there's really no financial reason for Sony to stop making Venom movies and anytime soon. And look, the point the industry insider is making here is absolutely apropos, is basically the same reason they won't sell the Spider-Man rights ever, just because a couple of movies where they tried to spin off secondary characters and villains at that didn't happen to work. They are making so much money with the animated Spider-Verse movie, with Tom Holland's movies in the MCU. They made a ton of money with Venom. So from a financial standpoint, it's actually been successful. The money they've made can easily offset the money they've lost making movies like Kraven the Hunter. But to me, this is where this article really gets bizarre. Quote, "All of these characters are famous because they went up against Spider-Man," says exhibitor relations analyst Jeff Bach. Quote, "Unfortunately for Sony, they had a taste of success with Venom, and that kind of spoiled everything for them because they thought they could just spin off all of these characters. I don't think they realized that Venom could carry a franchise, whereas these other characters could not. To not have a Spider-Man in these films was a fatal flaw." Another top executive said this, quote, "The corporate entanglements when studios try to work together is really hard. Sony has no flexibility. They have a cage that they have to work in, and they're trying to just make one good movie at a time." Again, coming from a top executive with extensive experience in the superhero space. According to one Sony source, the deal with Disney never precluded Sony from using Spider-Man in its movies that didn't bear his name. The Spider-Verse movie's profusion of Peter Parkers, Gwen Stacy's, and other various Spider people certainly bears that out. But there was a feeling within the studio, that's at Sony, that audiences would not accept Holland's Spidey suddenly popping up in a live-action film that wasn't part of the MCU, especially after Spider-Man No Way Home and the Marvel Studios projects Loki and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness established definitive boundaries to the Marvel Universe. First of all, bravo, Sony. Of all the stupid mistakes that you made with your Sony IP, thank you for not taking the one shining star of live action that's Tom Holland in the MCU and soiling that and ruining it by just saying he was a multiverse version and dragging him through the dirt in these absolutely D-grade or F-grade spin-off movies. First of all, bravo for not doing that. Like I said in the prologue, it's maybe the one and the smartest idea that they made. They have one successful thing, no reason to soil that in any way or sully it by dragging it through the mud in these other crap films. Now, the article also goes on to say this, quote, "Dancing around Spider-Man without ever getting to use him also contributed to the feeling that these spin-off films were merely exercises in Kraven opportunism. Quote, you can feel the cynicism a mile away, says one veteran producer. They're grinding out product and it feels like it. There's no quality control." They go on to say this, moving forward, they say the studio will need to be more discerning about which, if any, of the studio's stable of Spider-Man characters should be elevated into their own movie franchise. There is a different possibility as well. You could hire a different Spider-Man, Bach says. It doesn't have to be Tom Holland. Okay, wait, hold up. That's a super important quote, and we're going to talk about it in just a second. But first, we need to attribute this quote to the right person, because I'm already seeing this reporting botched, especially on social media, where ironically there's no quality control there either. No one at Sony said this. He is literally a senior box office analyst at Exhibitor Relations. Yes, it's his job to know these kind of things, but this is still just his opinion. This is still just his take. And in the same way that Sony thought that audiences wouldn't accept Tom Holland just showing up in their multiverse movies with no explanation, they also didn't want to ruin Tom Holland's prominence as the live-action Peter Parker and in the MCU by having yet another live-action Spider-Man who is also Peter Parker operating in the multiverse. Now, the clear way forward, the way that I'm looking at it from bird's eye view, would have been to bring back Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire for extensions of their universe and roll them into these new villains. Why they chose not to do that, I am not sure. Maybe Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire didn't want any part of it, and then bravo to them, but they've said they'd come back for the right thing, and we suspect we're going to see them in the upcoming Multiverse Saga ending here, probably in Avengers Secret Wars. But there's also another Spider-Man that's not Peter Parker that they could use in their live-action universe, and that's Miles Morales. Although, if Sony was smart, they probably want Miles Morales live-action movie that they've already loosely talked about in the MCU. That would be the place for them. That's why when we double back to a rumor about a month or so ago that said that Sony would roll its world into the MCU so they could work together and that the characters wouldn't be isolated and that they could solve the problem of saying, hey, we need a Peter Parker, we want to tell a meaningful story, but fans are going to know it's not the MCU, it's not going to feel connected, just make those movies in the same world. But in the way that there was no quality control for the Spider-Verse moving backward, maybe the same fears for Disney, Marvel, Kevin Feige moving forward, where his bandwidth has already reportedly been as spread thin as possible with how much content the MCU, now with Marvel Television and animation, all its separate arms are. Is there room for him to also executively produce and quality control Sony's live spin-offs too, just so they can have a live-action Spider-Man? So could Sony cast someone else? They could, but they know better, because they know that ultimately the problem is that these movies have to mean something, and the Peter Parker that we're now emotionally invested in is clearly in the MCU. So I gotta be honest, guys, for all the mistakes that Sony made, I really respect the fact that they did not screw with Tom Holland's Spider-Man in any way, and so much so, they had so much reverence for that Peter Parker that they didn't recast one in their live action movies when they easily could have done that. why they didn't see the golden opportunity with Andrew Garfield, especially right after No Way Home, when everyone was so high on the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man stock. They could have had an absolute banger with him in the third Venom movie, part of the Kraven movie. It would have been awesome, and honestly, it wouldn't have ruined our affection for Peter Parker in the MCU. We have these guys now in the same sort of place because we've seen them in No Way Home. They easily could have done that. I just don't understand why they didn't have that idea. Unless maybe they did and it got shot down early. Look, we're not privy to everything that happens behind the scenes, and you could see why, again, Andrew Garfield, from his point of view, yeah, coming back as Spider-Man's great when you're in the MCU. Maybe not ruin that by letting Sony have a crack to drag it through the mud in a Kraven movie. Just wait out for Secret Wars, which, again, I think we're going to see both of those characters be a missed opportunity if we didn't. You guys let me know all your thoughts down below. I've been trying to respond to a lot more comments lately. I'm all ears as always. Quickly, with the giveaway stuff, we are giving away another PS5 for the finale of What If Season 3 here at the end of the month, in just a couple of weeks. If you want to be entered to win or for any of the other future giveaways, all the same rules will always apply. Just hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way I'm doing here, live with my voice and the winning comment shown on screen. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on, and as always, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. My name is Michael Roman. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can also find me on all platforms with original music under the name Allfires. Thanks for checking the channel out, guys. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.